Hey guys, and today I'm going to do my tips for round 22. First up, we have Collingwood and West Coast fighting it out at the MCG on the Friday night. Last week, Collingwood wouldn't lie down against the Hawks, but they couldn't quite get the win in the end, and the Hawks still continue on their wonderful hoodoo over them at the moment. And West Coast got their lowest score ever at Patterson Stadium, getting thrashed by Geelong. And the last time these sides played, it was West Coast getting a nice 49-point win at home. It looks as though Collingwood have hit back to their usual high intensity, and West Coast just look flat. Honestly, they have looked flat. They've looked flat all year. And to their credit, though, they have had some pretty close encounters at the MCG, which is quite interesting. But I think Collingwood will be too good on this occasion. I'm going to tip Collingwood by 37 points. Adelaide hosts Melbourne at Amy Stadium early Saturday afternoon. Last week, Adelaide couldn't quite contain the rampaging Bulldogs that were on the comeback, and Melbourne got absolutely slaughtered at home. The last clash between these two sides saw Adelaide winning by 69 points. Melbourne seemed to struggle against just about anyone, and it's always a tough assignment going to Adelaide and playing them, let alone beating them. So I think Adelaide will win easily. I'm going to tip the Crows by 56 points. North Melbourne play Hawthorn at Adelaide Stadium on the Saturday afternoon. Last week, North Melbourne recorded a nice 45-point victory over the Bombers, who just looked depleted. And the Hawks still proving that they've got the wood over Collingwood, winning by 34 points in the end in a tough contest. The last clash between these two sides was very close. North Melbourne butchered their opportunities and really should have won, but the Hawks got across the line by 3 points. Really tough game to pick, but I think Hawthorn are almost due for another loss. And North Melbourne, they just play absolutely fantastic footy at Etihad Stadium, and they can be competitive against nearly any team, so they've shown so far this season. I'm going to tip North. It's a 50-50 game, but I'm going to go with North by 5 points. Geelong face Sydney in a blockbuster at Simmons Stadium late Saturday afternoon. Last week, Geelong recorded a nice 11-goal win over in the West, where they've been pretty unsuccessful in recent times, but they did nicely there. And Sydney recorded a 59-point victory over the Saints at home. The last clash between these two sides saw Geelong get up at the SCG, winning by 21 points. Here's the stat that just amazes me. Over Geelong's 7 years of dominance, I guess you could call it, when they've lost the second last game of the season, they've gone on to win the grand final, but if they've won the second last game, they either haven't made it or they've lost it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. Sydney, however, were the side that broke Geelong's record at Simmons Stadium, or Skilled Stadium it was back then, 2 years ago, when Geelong had 29 wins on the trot, and the Addy famously posted they already won the game before they did, and turned out to not be the case. However, Geelong also did beat the reigning premiers last year, and also earlier this year, and especially last year when they were having an off year. It was good to get a win then. It's a 50-50 game. Wouldn't be surprised if Sydney win, but I'm going to go with Geelong by 27 points. Carlton go up against a depleted Essendon outfit on the Saturday night. Last week, Carlton essentially caused an upset against the Tigers. It appears they still have the wood over them. And Essendon went down to North Melbourne by 45 points in the end. The last time these sides went up against each other, it was Carlton 5 goals in front. I think that was in the third quarter, and Essendon came back to win by 5 points, quite amazingly. And I think the game before that, though, Carlton won by 96 points. You couldn't really tip Essendon based on their current circumstances. And Carlton, you'd think they'd have their tails up after last week's win, and this is their absolute last chance to make finals. Have to win by a fair bit, otherwise no hope. But yeah, they should be alright here. I'm going to tip the Blues by 50 points. Big clash with Port Adelaide going to Patterson Stadium to take on one of the toughest assignments in the AFL, which is defeating Fremantle. Last week, Port Adelaide did enough against the competitive Gold Coast Suns side, and they won by 17 points, whilst Fremantle, on the other hand, had one of their easiest wins. They defeated the Demons, absolutely demolished the Demons by 95 points. The last clash between these two sides, Port Adelaide only kicked 6 goals at home, and Fremantle won in the end by 27 points. Port just need to win this game to secure a spot in the finals, but it's one very tough ask. I think the last time Port defeated Fremantle was back in 2009, so it's been a little while, and boy, they've improved since then. But yeah, it's almost an impossible task to beat them at Patterson Stadium. Only a few teams can do it. So I think Fremantle will win this game by 24 points. Gold Coast travelled to Melbourne to take on St Kilda on the Sunday. Last week, St Kilda were competitive for a half against the reigning premiers, but in the end went down by 59 points. And the Gold Coast Suns put up a pretty competitive performance against Port, going down by just under 3 goals. The last clash between these sides saw Gold Coast win in round 1, amazingly, and that was by 13 points. If there was ever a 50-50 contest, this would be it. Such a tough game to pick. St Kilda haven't won a game in a fair while, but Gold Coast has shown impressive signs all year. I might tip St Kilda based on them not winning a game for a very long time, and the home ground advantage might also help out, but I'm not confident at all either way. So I'm just going to tip the Saints by 8 points. GWS host Richmond at Skoda Stadium on the Sunday. Last week Richmond got a bit of a wake-up call against Carlton, going down by 10 points. And GWS went down to the Lions by 10 goals, so a big loss there. And the last time between these two sides, there was only 12 points in it at Skoda Stadium, which was probably due to Richmond's inaccurate kicking. But I think they'll bounce back this week. Surely the Tigers, it wouldn't be a good loss going into the finals. So I'm going to tip Richmond by 25 points. Brisbane and the Western Bulldogs fight it out at the Gabba on late Sunday afternoon. Last week, Brisbane got a handy 60-point victory over GWS, and the Bulldogs surprised many fans and the Crows supporters as well, winning by 17 points at Etihad Stadium. The last clash between these sides saw the Western Bulldogs upset the NAB Cup reigning premiers. They looked pretty promising, but no, the Dogs got the job done in the end by 68 points. Brisbane haven't had much luck beating the Bulldogs lately. They've lost 4 of the last 5 clashes. However, that one clash they did win, it happened to be at the Gabba, of course, and so they certainly don't mind playing there. I say this a lot, but if Brisbane can beat quality sides at the Gabba, surely they can beat the Western Bulldogs. But yeah, it's probably another 50-50 game. Yeah, I think Brisbane will win this game. I'm going to tip them to win by 15 points. So those are my tips for round 22. Feel free to comment your tips. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you guys all soon.